Hello and welcome to my channel. So in today's session we are going to solve one assignment problem using Hungarian method. Okay, so the problem is as follows. There are 4 professors which are each capable of teaching any one of the 4 different subjects. As you can see, the S1, S2, S3 and S4. Okay, so the class preparation time which will be termed in terms of hours for different topics varies from professor to professor and is given in the table below here. Okay, so that each professor should be assigned only one subject. So we can see there are 4 professors and there are 4 subjects. So each professor will be assigned with only one subject. So we need to find the schedule so as to minimize the total subject preparation time for all the subjects for the equivalent professors. Okay, so we can see the assignment table here. So we have 4 rows and the 4 columns, right? So what is the first step what we need to see in any assignment problem? It is that it should be balanced. Okay, so number of rows should be equal to number of columns. So in our case we have 4 rows and we have 4 columns. Okay, now if you want to solve this algorithm or this particular problem using Hungarian method, we need to follow some of the procedures. So in the step 1, what we are going to do is we are going to apply the row reduction. Okay, so the row reduction will be done by selecting the minimum element in each rows and subtract it from the other elements from the rows. Okay, so for example, in this particular row we have the minimum element is 2, right? So we have to subtract this 2 from all the other values in the respective rows, only in the first row. Similarly, we have to proceed further with the second row, third row and the fourth row. Okay, then we have to go for the column reduction. Okay, so here we have to select the least element in each column and subtract it from the other elements of the column. Okay, then whatever the matrix we got is called as a reduced matrix. Okay, wherein each row and each column there should be at least one 0. Then we are going to allocate element row by wise. Okay, row wise and assign for each 0 in a row having a single 0 and by cancelling the respective columns. Okay, so then we will try to modify this reduced matrix by identifying the least uncrossed element, and we will just try to add this element which are double crossed and subtract this from the uncrossed elements, and finally we are going to retain the single crossed elements as they are. Okay, so and the last step we will repeat all these allocations and modifications of the reduced matrix until the number of allocations is equal to the order of the matrix obtained. Okay, so I will tell you how the exact steps are going to be done in this particular problem. Okay, so first of all we have to check whether the problem is or the given table is balanced or not. So that we will see by counting the number of rows and number of columns. So we have 4 equal to 4. Okay, so in that case the problem is balanced. Now we have to go for the row reduction. Okay, so in the first row the minimum value is 2, in the second row we have the minimum value 4, third row we have the minimum value as 11, fourth row we have the minimum value as 3. So now we have to subtract that particular minimum value with the rest of the values of that particular rows. Okay, so now we will apply the row reduction technique. Okay, so as you can see here we have done the row reduction. So in the each and every particular row we can see there is a 1 0 present here, right? So we have subtracted 2 from the particular row. We can see that 2 minus 2 is 0, 10 minus 2 is 8, 9 minus 2 is 7 and 7 minus 2 is 5. Similarly in the second row we have 4 as the least element here. So 15 minus 4 becomes 11, 4 minus 4 is 0, 14 minus 4 is 10 and 8 minus 4 is 4. Similarly we are done for the other rows. Okay, third and the fourth row. Now we can see that in each row there should be at least 1 0. So we have to verify that. So we have 1 0 here, we have second 0 here, we have third 0 here and we have fourth 0 here, correct? So we have 4 zeros in 4 rows. Now we have to before we go proceed further with the column reduction, we have to check in each and every column we have at least 1 0. So in the first column we have at least one zero, so we have two zeros, but it's at least one zero we have it, right? So this will satisfy. In the second column also at least we have one zero, so it will satisfy. But in the third column we can see that there is no zero. We have 7, 10, 5 and 10, so there is no zero here in the third column. And in the also in the fourth column we have at least one zero, right? So we have to go for the column reduction. Okay, so in this entire column we have to find for the minimum value, that is 5, and we have to subtract it with the rest of the values of the respective columns, and we are going to get the column reduced matrix as follows now. So we can see here we have got the column reduced matrix, right? So we can see that in each and every column we have at least one zero. Now it's time for the allocation. So we have to keep on assigning the zeros. Now we will apply the Hungarian method for this to assign the values. Okay, so we can see that in the first row we have at least one zero, so we have to assign it. Okay, so I'm going to assign this zero here. Okay, so we have to check when we assign this zero, is there any zero in the particular row? There is no zero, but there is a zero in the respective column, so we have to cross mark this. Okay, that means in that particular column we cannot assign any other, okay, subject to the professor, correct? No, so only one subject will be assigned for each professor. Okay, now next we'll go for the next row. It is here, but in this particular row there is only one zero, so we'll directly assign for this particular allocation. Okay, and we can see that in the respective column and in the respective row, second column, we don't have any zeros. Okay, now we'll go for the third one. Okay, so we have two zeros. Now any one you can select, so I'm going to select this one. Okay, I'm allocating this zero now. So after I allocate zero, this particular zero will get cancelled. Okay, now in the fourth row we have no zeros left. That means there is no assignment been made in the last row. Now what we have to do means, actually as per the given problem we have 4 subjects and we have 4 professors. That means each professor should be assigned at least one subject, but here in our case only 3 professors been assigned the subject. Okay, one more professor has not been assigned the subject. Now to make it assigned, we have to apply the next step. What is that next step means, we have to tick the rows where there is no allocations been done. Okay, where there is no allocation, so allocations is not done for the last row, so we have to put a check mark here, tick the rows. Okay, and in the ticked row, do we have any zeros? We have to check. We have one zero here. We have to consider the zero for this particular step. Okay, so in that particular ticked row we have to check for the zero. If we have zero, then tick that particular column. So I'll tick the particular column. In the ticked column, do we have any assigned zero? So that is what we have it here. We have one assigned zero. If we have, then we have to tick the respective row, that is here. Okay, so what we have done, so we have checked for the unallocated row, that is the fourth row. Then we have done the tick mark here. So in the ticked row we have checked for the zero, that is what we found it here in the first column. So we have done the column has been ticked here, so we have ticked the column, and in the ticked column, so we have to check whether there is any assigned zero, that is here. So for that we have to go for the ticked for that particular row. Now what we have to do means, we have to draw the horizontal and vertical lines. Okay, so we have to draw the horizontal lines for the unticked rows and vertical lines for the ticked columns. Okay, so we will do that now. Okay, so I'm going to apply. So unticked rows are here, right? So this second row and the third row, so I'm going to cross the line here, second row and the third row. Okay, so I cross the two lines, horizontal lines for the unticked rows, and I'm going to draw the vertical line for the ticked column. So ticked column is here, the first column, correct? No? So I'm going to draw the one vertical line. Done. So now what we have to do means, apart from the vertical and horizontal line, see for the values. We have 8, we have 2, we have 5. Similarly, we have 12, 5 and 5. Among these values, which is the least value or the minimum value we have to select. So in our case, the minimum value is 2. So we have to write that minimum value here. So we can write here the minimum value is 2. Okay, so the minimum value is 2. So now what we have to do means, from that minimum value, wherever there is no lines being crossed, okay, that value has to be subtracted with the minimum value. That means the 8 will become 6, 2 will become 0, 5 will become 3. Okay, the values which are not been crossed with any of the lines, horizontal or vertical line, there we have to subtract with the minimum value. If you find there is at least one crossing line, we have to keep that value as it is. For example, 0 will be as it is. Okay, this 0 will be as it is, this 5 will be as it is, 4 will be as it is, right? Then any of the values which is crossed with a double line, so for example 11, you can see it has been crossed with one vertical line and one horizontal line for the 11, then we have to add this minimum value to that. So 11 will become 13 here in our case. Okay, so now we have to do this step now. Okay, now after we do this step, we are going to get the matrix in this particular fashion. So as you can see that we have reached the reduced matrix now by applying the minimum value 2 for those cells where there is no crossed lines, correct? For the 8 we don't have any crossed line, so we have subtracted that by 2 and we got the result like this. And where there is at least one line been crossed, we have kept those values as it is, and where there are double lines crossed, especially for 11, we have added that value 2. So we got the value as 0, 6, 0, 3, 13, 0, 5, 4, 4, 3, 0, 0 and 0, 10, 3, 3. Okay, now we will repeat the same step. Okay, and we'll try to assign the each zeros in respective rows and columns. Okay, so we are going to do that job right now. So first of all, in the first row we can see we have 2 zeros. Now we have to select the particular assignments very smartly here. See, for example, if I try to select this 0, okay, then of course this 0 will go, right? The particular column, that particular column value 0 will go, and also the third the first row third column value also will be discarded. In that case, we can see that the last row will not have any assignments again. Okay, so what if I try to assign for this particular 0? That means for the professor 1, what if I give the subject 3? Okay, in that case, subject 1, the subject 1 will be discarded, and we can see that in the respective column this also will be discarded, but still it has 2 options here. So in a smart way we have to approach the problem. So I will tell you. So in our case, I'm trying to assign this subject for that particular professor. Okay, if I assign this subject, so what will happen means I cannot assign the subject 1 to the professor 1. Okay, also I cannot assign the subject 3 to the professor 3, correct? Because subject 3 is already assigned to professor 1, correct? No? So now we will go for the second row. Let us see which subject is going to be assigned for professor 2. So it will be the second subject. Okay, second subject. We have only 1 0 here, so there are no zeros in the respective columns and no zeros in the respective row. Okay, for the third professor we'll give the subject 4. Okay, so I'll assign this 0 now. This is for subject 4, and for the fourth professor we'll give the subject 1, and this is the best assignment. Okay, now we can see that we have 4 professors, we have 4 subjects. Now professor 1 has given to subject 3 Professor 2 has given to subject 2, Professor 3 has got the subject 4, and Professor 4 has got the subject 1. Okay, now we need to keep on assigning, right? So we will write the labels here also. This is subject 1, subject 2, subject 3 and subject 4. So we will assign P1 to S3, right? That is subject 3. Okay, so what is the value that actually in the real table you have to check for the values. So subject 3 value is what here? 9, correct? No, now we have to go write that 9 value is 9. Okay, so which is equal to 9. Similarly, Professor 2 will be assigned with subject 2. So in the second row, second column, what is the value we have to check? Second row, second column. Okay, so let us do that. So we have the value 4, correct? We have the value 4. So we will assign this value as 4. Similarly, we have to go for the third professor. So the Professor 3 will be assigned subject 4, and of course the value will be subject 4 value will be what? 11, right? 11. We'll write 11. And for the Professor 4, subject is given 1. So what is the value for subject 1? That is 3. Okay, so that is answer 3. Now we have to count the number of hours. Okay, so total when you count it, how much we'll get? Total 27 hours, correct? No, 27 hours, because in the question they asked very clearly. Okay, so they say that the class preparation time is given in terms of hours for different topics, varies from professor to professor, right? So now we can see that from the given table, each professor has been assigned only one subject. Okay, now the question was to find a schedule so as to minimize the total subject preparation time. Okay, so the maximum time or the minimum time will be the 27 hours, right? So this is how we are going to solve the problem or the assignment problem using Hungarian method. Okay, so as a recap, this was the question what is been given. Then we have done the row reduction. To find the row reduction, we have to find the minimum value from each row and each columns, and we have to make sure that in each row and each column there should be at least 1 0. So that we got after column reduction, and then we have to start assigning the zeros very smartly. Okay, so once we assign the zeros, if you assign it for the first row, then that particular row and that particular column we have to check for any other zeros, presence of any other zero. If there is any presence, you have to discard it. Okay, as shown here. Then after doing everything, then we have to check that which among the rows are not having any assignment. In our case it was the last row, so we had done the tick mark for that. Okay, so in that ticked rows we have to check for any zeros, presence of zeros. For that particular column we have to do the tick mark, so that is a ticked column. So in the ticked column we have to check for which among the cell value has been assigned, that is the first row, so we have done the tick mark. Okay, like that you have to do the lot of iterations if you have many zeros here. Okay, and after that we have to draw the horizontal and vertical lines, so we call it as a cross lines. So we have to draw the cross lines for the unticked rows and the ticked column. And apart from that we have to check the other values. So we got 825 and 1255. Among all these values the minimum value is 2. So what we have to do means, wherever there is for any values, if the particular line is not been crossed, then we have to subtract it by 2, and any values which are where the line is crossed only once, we have to we need not to do anything for that. We have to keep the value as it is, and any value if it has been double crossed, okay, then we have to add the value by that particular minimum value, and after that we are getting a new table, and again you have to start your same iterative procedures. Okay, keep on assigning until you get 4 assignments for the 4 rows. Okay, after that we have to allocate the subject for each and every professors here. That is what I done, and get the values from the original table and count it, total it, and we got 27 hours. This is the minimum schedule. Okay, and the best possible subject assignment for the each and every professor. So if you have any queries regarding to this problem, please drop your comments in the comment section below. Thank you so much.